back to the Combat Sports Report. My guest today is Cooper Hassell. If you're familiar with the Combat Sports Report, you've seen him before. You've seen him in Houston. It seems like this guy is on my feed once a month, just choking somebody out. Recently, he shot Caleb Crump. We'll get into that. But ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Cooper Hassell. Cooper, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thankful and very grateful to be on here, and very grateful to have an opportunity to compete at your event.
Well, I'm thankful. Excuse me. I'm thankful for having you back. For those that aren't familiar with you, could you kind of explain your journey a little bit and how jiu-jitsu kind of became, your thing?
Yeah, so growing up, my plan was to always join the military. And then that's what actually got me into jiu-jitsu, was listening to the Jocko podcast. And I was like, well, if Jocko talks about this stuff, I should probably go try this before I join the military. So I started jiu-jitsu, and then the more that I did it, the more I liked it. So the more I continued to do it. And then so I started jiu-jitsu right before I turned, like 2 months before I turned 17. So I did it for a year. And then after that, I moved to Illinois, and I trained in Illinois for about a year at Daisy Fresh. And then after that, I ended up moving out here to Colorado, and I've been out here for about a year now. So,
Okay, gotcha. So you kind of bounced around a little bit till you found a home.
mhm.
Can you kind of speak on that transition? I mean, coming from the Midwest, where wrestling is so prevalent, it's kind of like the main thing, and there's some of that in Denver, but it's also such a heavy MMA culture. I mean, it's kind of a different vibe when you're in the room. So can you kind of speak on the difference between the Daisy Fresh culture and I guess Wilson Bros?
Yes. So, um, the Daisy Fresh culture, it's very hard nosed, which I don't mind, but there ends up being certain problems that come with that. For me, particularly not cleaning the mats. So I got staffed 5 times in 7 months. And so it just became a thing where I was like, well, I can't keep staying here and keep getting staffed, because I know other people have gotten messed up from being on all these antibiotics. So that was the biggest driving factor for moving for me, is I needed to be somewhere dry where I could train consistently and not be getting staffed once a month. So, and then for me, where I started is, being from Arkansas, we don't have that much wrestling. So we have wrestling like on the very south end of the state, or the very like north end of the state. And I'm kind of from the kind of northeast side of the state, and we don't have hardly any wrestling over there. So when I first started training jiu-jitsu, it was in a very kind of MMA style. So like we'd do our jiu-jitsu classes, and at the end of jiu-jitsu class, you'd throw some gloves on and spar a little bit. And it was like, okay, cool. But the more that I competed at jiu-jitsu competitions, I'm like, okay, I got to find a place where I can train more jiu-jitsu. And so initially, Daisy Fresh was about 3.5 hours from my house in Arkansas. So I would just drive up there and train. And then I was like, all right, I think my next step is to move here. And then when I moved there, I improved significantly, and had some really great coaching. One of my probably main coaches has been George Valadares. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
Okay, well, he's now a black belt under Heath, and he's opened up his own gym down in Texas. Um, so I trained under him a lot, and then he ended up leaving and going to Texas. And then when that transition happened, I ended up out here. So, and then being out here, um, the biggest difference I would say is that we don't have those like highest level, like we don't have the Michael Pixley, the Jacob Couch. We don't have those guys at Wilson Bros. But what the brothers do really well at Wilson Bros is, from white belt all the way through to our black belts, we have really technical guys all the way up. So you can get really, really good technical work, rather than having to roll with those highest level guys at Daisy Fresh, like Little Jacob was another one. So like you would kind of either be just getting beat up by those highest level guys, or it would be a lot of guys that traveled there that were relatively inexperienced and weren't as technical. So that's probably been the biggest difference. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And that kind of brings me to my next question as well. I mean, I became familiar with you just more or less kind of that loosely defined C tier, not necessarily the Nagas, but kind of more the in-house stuff behind closed doors. I mean, that's what goes viral these days. I feel like you see a lot of guys like in the gym, the atmosphere is packed, people are slamming their hands on the mat. It draws your attention in. And I mean, you've kind of developed a reputation in Denver when people speak on Cooper Hassell in an in-house tournament, they know it's going to be a rough day. Like it's just a known thing. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit? I mean, Denver is a little underrated, and they quietly have this really close, tight knit group of people that are kind of like you see familiar faces at open mats, no matter what gym you're at. And I mean, it just seems like one Saturday a month, you guys all meet up at some gym and kill each other. So, I mean, can you kind of speak on the culture in Denver, the in-house tournaments, and how that's shaped your career up to this point?
Yes. So coming from um, coming from Arkansas, that's where I'm originally from, and then from Illinois, we don't have nearly as much competitions. So like when I first got out here, I think I ended up doing like 11 competitions in 13 weeks is how many competitions we had out here. I'm just like out hitting one a weekend for what, more than 3 months basically. So it was like it's a blast. And then as far as competing goes, I mean, um I mean, my ultimate goal, this doesn't always work out because, and that's why you go and compete. But the ultimate goal is domination. So when I'm training in the gym, my whole goal is to get my technique to a level that I can go out and dominate anybody in competition. And obviously that takes some years and putting in the reps and putting in the work. And I'm not quite there yet, but that's what I'm working towards. And then when I go out in competition, I just try to have fun and enjoy the moment and be there and compete with the guys. And fortunately, in this area, we do have a lot of high level guys that maybe they haven't quite broke through like that ADCC trials yet, but they're like right there on the cusp. Like we have lots of guys that have made it day two at trials. Um, we've the other thing too is like we have a lot of wrestlers, which obviously it's like for jiu-jitsu, if I'm going to try and beat them in a match, I want to leg lock them. But in the room, it's like if I can just wrestle with those dudes, like to put it in perspective, yesterday we had two high schoolers in the room. This was at the Sunday open mat. We had two high schoolers that I think they're 17. So they're going into their senior year. And I think the one took second at state and the other one placed at state. Then we had three guys in the room that wrestled at West Point, and then we had a guy in the room that wrestled at the Air Force Academy, and then he's been doing jiu-jitsu for the last probably 10 years and made it to day two at trials. So it's like we've got, and then of course we've got Marcus in the room right now. I mean, John's out at PGF, so he's out there right now. But and then like Crump will come in. We got all these guys that'll come in. So we're really fortunate to have the amount of good training, especially if you can kind of learn how to utilize your training partners for their strengths, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've brought up some of the top flight competition that's in Denver. I mean, that sounds like an insane room to train in. I mean, the average guy would just drown in that level of competition. And I mean, to see that you guys can kind of seamlessly go back and forth from competitors to training partners, competitors to training partners, because I mean, ultimately, nobody wants to be the best guy in Denver. Everybody kind of wants to break through to that next level. So I mean, it's a great scene. It's a great atmosphere. If you guys haven't trained in Denver, I highly recommend it. Definitely condition your lungs first. That's no joke. But
Yeah.
you recently competed in the John Wick Invitational. That's the correct name for it, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So for those that don't know, it's a crazy event. It's held by Pit Boss Grappling. It's in a pit. Competitors wear a suit. There's weapons that get introduced into the match, but more or less, it's grappling with the element of a suit, basically gi rules. But again, there's guns on the mat. There's knives on the mat. So I have to tell you a quick story. I have a buddy that he knows very, very little about mixed martial arts, combat sports. I mean, like he'll ask me, like, "Do you think McGregor's actually going to fight this time?" Like those are the texts I get. So, so just to put it into perspective, he sends me a clip and he's like, "Have you seen this?" And it's basically you with Caleb Crump in full guard, and you're holding a pistol, and you're in a suit and Caleb's trying to pass and you're trying to shoot Caleb with your thumb. It is the craziest video you've ever seen. And he's like, have you seen this? I was like, not only have I seen it, I know both of those guys. It's like, I'll do you one better. The guy that got shot is on my poster. And he's like, oh, you should have put the guy who shot him on the poster. So just a heads up, you might be two guns up on the next poster. But can you kind of talk to me about that? It looks like an absolutely wild event, tons of fun. I mean, you went super viral for shooting Caleb Crump. I mean, can you kind of talk us through that?
Yeah, man. So first off, I just want to say thanks to Jared, because Jared puts on an amazing event, and like at the last one, um, that was definitely, I would say, his biggest event yet. So I think I've competed at, I want to say, two of those. So they've been, I mean, Jared's been so good. So I've competed there three times, because the first time I competed there was he has his Pit Boss Grappling open. And then humorously enough, I'm actually going to compete there this weekend in the Nogi, or this coming weekend. And we're just going to go have some matches in the pit there. But as far as the match itself, I knew with Caleb that my best bet was going to be to jump close guard on him. So right out the gate with the match, he started pushing into me, so I just jumped close guard. From there, I think I had two separate leg entries, and those suits are awesome. The problem is that the way the material is made, they slip on each other really good. And Caleb, he knows how to roll and spin and defend legs well, and he uses a lot of rotation in his defense. So he escaped both of them, and then they set the gun in overtime, and he started scooting towards it, and I was able to get back to close guard. And I'm thinking, I don't really know. I guess I'm just going to try and control this gun and not get shot. Well, somehow I end up with the gun, but they were using they're actually like really, really nice Terran tactical replicas, right? And so we're using these really nice guns that are really realistic. Well, they have these massive mag releases on them. So when we're scrambling for the gun, there's probably four hands on this pistol, because me and him are both trying to grab it. And I managed to hit the mag release as I grabbed the gun. Well, I get a solid purchase on the gun, and I managed to scoop up the mag with it. And then as I'm trying to figure out how to put the mag back in and cock the gun and everything, um, I wasn't paying as much attention to my guard. So he ends up jumping over and has me like in a triangle. And it just so happened to be enough where I could get the mag back in the gun and pass it to my other hand and cock it. And then I managed to shoot him. So it was just a crazy, um, I don't really know how I did it, but it happened, and it makes for a good story now. You know what I mean? So.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the narration. I'm like, it's so funny. I'm like picturing you going through this as you're telling the story. But yeah, we'll have to get some clips out there from that. If you guys didn't see it, look it up. It's absolutely insane. So my next question was going to be, would you compete for them again? But you are. So for those of you that don't know, tune in. It's on YouTube, correct?
I don't know if this one's going to be. So now I will film the matches and put them on my YouTube, which is just Cooper Hassell. So if y'all want to go see my matches, I want to say I have probably like maybe 80 of my matches on there, and then I have some training footage on there too, if y'all want to go watch that. But.
Boom. So you've competed for us before. You came down to Houston. You drew a really tough opponent first round, and I believe it was in the absolute division, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So now you're dropping down to 89.
Yes, sir.
I have to ask, what made you decide to come back? And did you feel that the absolute division was a little too heavy for you? Like you're more better suited for the 190?
So for me, I was always real big on like not cutting weight. But then when I got out here with the amount of competitions there is, and with my frame size, like the last competition I just did was it's called Mountainside Grappling for Byron Orton, and I went and competed with those guys, and that was at a 180. So I've been having to cut weight anyway. I made 185, I think 3 times, because I also did for the Wilson Bros thing, I needed to make 185 for their tournament, and then I needed to make 185 for main character, and then I needed to make 180 for this last tournament. So it was like I've been having to cut weight anyway, so I'm naturally smaller right now. And so that was why. As of where a year or two ago, I was walking around at like 205. Actually less than that. Like really after Christmas, I was still 205, but I ended up cutting down and everything and lost the weight pretty easy. So that was the bigger driving factor is that because I woke up, I was 186 like Wednesday morning. So I'm coming in pretty light. That was the biggest driving factor for that.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's get into the X's and O's real quick. For those that aren't familiar with you, they've never seen you compete before. How would you describe your style, or how would you put your game into words?
Well, I would say what I try to do when I compete is I try to attack the guy the whole time. And that doesn't necessarily mean with submissions the entire time, but I try to attack them whether it's with off balances or with even like just for if you're standing wrestling, just going to a 2-on-1, just digging an underhook, grabbing a collar tie, moving them around with it, going for an arm drag, those types of things, those things that create openings for bigger moves and for submissions. So I'm constantly always trying to attack the guy. And then, I'm always looking for the sub. So that's the goal of what I'm trying to do when I'm out there.
Okay. So with this coming bracket, you're stepping into a 16-man division, tons of killers, guys from pretty much all over the country. What I suppose, if somebody's watching this interview and it's one of your competitors, somebody in the bracket is watching you right now, should they be concerned about drawing you in the division? What can they expect? What have you been working on? I guess what type of game are you looking to bring March 21st?
Well, I'm just thankful that they all showed up to compete against me because the plan's to win this thing. So we'll see if I can put 4 matches together how I need to win it. But I'm just thankful that they all showed up to compete against me. And then the other thing is that I've been working tons of leg lock defense and tons of takedown defense. So I think it's going to be hard for anybody to do anything to me. And then the goal is just to make people overextend. So.
All right. Well, we're going to see it here. I love the sound bites. It's always good to kind of get the predictions ahead of time and then splice it in over the actual match performance. So I appreciate that.
Yes,
but at this point, you've competed all over. I've seen you at high level competitions. I've seen you, like you said, in-house tournaments, just kind of doing a little bit of everything. So at this point in your career, what keeps you motivated and keeps you active? What are you looking to accomplish now that you've kind of done, a little bit of everything?
This might sound crazy for where I'm at, but the goal is ADCC champ. Just being honest with you, like that's the driving force. Like I love to compete, but I can't wait to go and compete at trials. And then when I win that, go and compete with the highest level competition in our sport. That's the real driving force, is to have the opportunity to go and compete against those absolute best guys in our sport. So that's the driving force for me.
Okay. And I have to ask, with that being the goal, I speak to guys all the time. What do you feel is the difference between being an ADCC, undeniable world champion, and maybe being an IBJJF no-gi world champion? Is there a difference there for you?
For me, it's all who's in the bracket. So like when Cole Abate and Gabriel Souza go at IBJJF Worlds, that's an ADCC match, you know what I mean? But it's like there have definitely been guys that have won brackets, and you go look at the bracket and you're like, well, none of these guys have, like, maybe some of them made it to day 2 at trials. You know what I mean? So the biggest thing for me is just who's in the bracket at the Worlds. I also view it as like a resume accomplishment, So it's like, hey, I won the Worlds at whatever my belt level is. It's like, cool, but can you go and win, trials or ADCC, or can you go have a match on WNO and do well against whoever's there? So again, for me, it's who are actually the highest level guys, not just who got into the tournament.
It's super interesting. I just think it's funny when you talk to somebody that's kind of on the grind and on the come up. They're all about like you just said, like the opponent matters so much more than the stage. It's like I want to kind of validate myself and show people that I belong at this level. And then when you talk to a guy who's kind of been around, like maybe a Dante Leon, he's like, no, the stage matters so much more than the opponent. That's where I get paid. That's where it's just so interesting, kind of that dynamic right there. Where I mean, once you've established your name, it's all about the stage, but on the come up, it's all about the opponent. It's just an interesting dynamic. But
Yeah, it is.
I'll turn it over to you now. Now's kind of your time. If there's anything we didn't cover you'd like to discuss, any shout outs, any thank yous, any coaches, things of that nature, shoot, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. I just want to say thank you to really the Wilson Bros family, and just the how great the coaching is. And also too is like what I feel like a lot of coaches maybe like mess up on is they try to put you in their box. Like, well, if you're going to be here, you have to do this. And what the brothers do really, really well on is they're like, hey, look, these are your strengths. Let's make them stronger. And then these are your weaknesses. We need to fix these. And I feel like they do a really good job of that all the way from like the lowest level in the room all the way to the highest level in the room. So just thank you to them, and for the opportunities and the coaching that they've given me. And yeah, thank you to all my training partners, and thank you to all my competitors, because you can't train or compete without those two parties involved. So thank you guys. And thank you for having me on the podcast and on the tournament. So,
well, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know now, you know Cooper Hassell competing out of Wilson Bros in Denver. He's stepping on the mats in the the 189 division now. We're dropping down to our natural weight. If his track record is any indication, it's going to be a really rough night for somebody. So you're not going to want to miss it. Tune in on Venture Combat. If you can make it and you want to support Cooper, hit him up for tickets. But that's all, Cooper. I appreciate you joining us. I thank you for the time, and we'll see you on the mats.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We'll see you on the mats.